YouTubers. It's been brought to my attention by aaaarrroo or Aaron that I hadn't done any Nokias in my last mobile review. So what I've decided is that I'm going to review the phones that he suggested, and I'm also going to talk about the 6233 only because it was the last Nokia phone that I owned, and for its time it had the best video capture that I could find. With all of these phones, all I'm doing is concentrating on the video capture element of them, not them as a whole. If you want to know more about their specifications and read more reviews on them, about the phone on the whole, then you can go to mobilereview.com, or you can go to one I think is called New Mobile, and they sort of give you a general review of all of the phone, not just the video capture. Whereas with me, I'm concentrating on the video capture element of it. The Nokia 6233 is a 2 megapixel camera phone. It records in 3GP format. It has normal stuff like an MP3, it's got an FM radio on it. It's a candy bar phone. The resolution is 640 by 480. Now, as far as the frames per second is concerned, the 640 resolution, which is the highest, records in 15.5 frames per second. Whereas the next resolution down, which is 352 by 288, actually records in 30 frames per second. Now, I looked at the various different video samples that I have, and the higher resolutioned picture was actually better in picture quality than the lower resolution. Now, whether that's because of the 3GP format, I don't know, but on the whole it was a really good video capture for a 2 megapixel camera. So let's have a look. Okay, the first video is of me in my bedroom. Now, as you can see, the picture quality is quite good for a 2 megapixel camera. There is a little funny sort of bluish haze on the picture, but as far as it's concerned it is quite clear, which I was quite impressed with at the time. The next one is of me in my bedroom with the curtains closed. This is what I would call the dark night shot. Now, you can't really see a lot of detail there, and I think it's probably on par with the LG. The last clip is of me on a walk. It was quite a sunny day, and there's me dog. As you can see, the picture is quite clear and the quality of it is quite good. I was really impressed with this phone when it first came out, because the video capture on it I found was the best around at the time. Now obviously you've got 3.2 megapixel versions of it now, and you've got the 5 megapixel versions of it now, but I think that if you wanted to get a cheap mobile phone that did really good video capture, then I would suggest getting the 6233, because it is a really good all-round phone, and the video capture is really good for the lower megapixel camera phone. That is the Nokia 6233. Now, the Nokia N95. It's got 5 megapixel camera on it. It records in MPEG. It records at 30 frames per second, and the highest resolution is 640 by 480. When I speak about the 640 by 480 resolution, basically what I'm talking about is the highest resolution that that camera phone will do. There are other levels of resolution that the camera phone does, and sometimes they're called QVGA or VGA, depending on what kind of settings that the individual phone has. It's a slide phone. It has night mode, video editor and loads of other stuff. I did look at the video sample of the N95, and it is alright. I mean, I would say it's probably only a little bit better than the 6233. But the main thing that put me off about this phone is that it's so fat. Even though it's a slide phone, it's still quite a big chunky fat phone. And like I said before, I don't like me fat chunky phones, because I like to have a nice slimline phone that I can just slip in my top pocket and, you know, off I go sort of thing. That is the N95. Now the N95 8GB is the next phone on the list. This is practically the same as the N95. I think basically what they've done is they looked on the forums, they fixed all of the N95's problems, shoved 8GB in it and called it the N95 8GB. Oh, and they made it black. As far as I can see, there isn't really a lot of difference between the two phones. Even in the video footage, there isn't a lot of difference in the phones. Pretty much all the same sort of settings. And that's the N95 8GB. Lastly, we have the N82. It's got the same camera in it as the N95, 5 megapixels. It's a candy bar phone. It records at 30 frames per second, and the resolution is 640 by 480, and it has an 8 times digital zoom, which I think the N95 and N95 8GB also has. Now, with all of these three phones, for some reason they've put a 60-minute limit on how much you can record. Whether that's because by the time you get to 6 minutes the battery runs out. I think it's 60 minutes continuous recording, then the battery runs out obviously, and so then you've got to recharge and all the rest of it. Whether it's 60 minutes in total, I don't know, which I would say is a bit of an annoying thing, because you don't want to have any kind of restriction on your recording. But then who's going to record 60 minutes continuously on a mobile phone anyway? I looked at the video sample of this and I was really impressed, and it sort of even got me questioning about the LG Beauty. The thing I've always found with the Nokia phones is that their picture quality is a lot better, and they seem to capture the light a lot better, and the colours in them seem to be quite good. And like I say, with the video sample that I watched, it was a really good video sample, and I think if I was to make my choice again, then instead of the G600 being my number 2 phone, I would probably say that it would be the N82. Again, with the Beauty, the only reason why I went with the Beauty is because of the slow motion option on it, and I'm not sure if the N82 has that option. I haven't seen it on there, so I think that I would probably stick with the LG still. Plus, it has been said that the little buttons on the N82 can be a bit annoying. But also, it's been said that the N82, when you take pictures with it, is actually better and clearer than the Sony Ericsson. There you go. That's my review of the Nokia phones. I've always liked the Nokia phones, and I've probably had more Nokia phones than any other make of phone. Obviously, I'm only going by what I can read and what I can see on the internet. You know, these opinions are just what I've gleaned from that kind of knowledge. I hope this has helped, and generally, with all those phones taken into consideration, I would still suggest that if you don't mind the touchscreen on the LG, then go for the LG, because as far as I've seen, the LG is probably still the best for video capture. The N82 is really close to it, and until I get a chance to actually get my hands on an N82, I can't really say for sure if it is better than the LG Beauty. Obviously, if I do get a chance to have a look at the N82, then I will let you know of what I think of that. But as far as I'm concerned, the LG Beauty is still the best for video capture outside of getting a camcorder or a digital camera. So that is my review. I hope you've enjoyed it, and any questions that you would like to ask me, then I shall try and answer them as the best I can. If you want to look at any of those phones and better reviews on them, then you can go to mobilereview.com, and they have pretty much all of the phones that you can think of that are out there at the moment. Okay then, that's enough from me. Goodbye.